Adding canola oil to your diet may help you lose belly fat in about a month.
Researchers say a diet that includes canola oil is linked to problems with memory, learning ability, and weight gain in mice.
Canola oil may be harmful to the brain. Researchers from Temple University finding that canola decreased learning ability, inhibited memory, and led to weight gain in mice with Alzheimer's.
Massive fields like this were planted in Canada just a few weeks ago. And most of them are canola. In fact, canola is now basically on track to surpass wheat as the most cultivated crop in the country. It is now grown by 43,000 farmers here, and those farmers produce about 20 million tons of canola annually. But how exactly did they get here? Why were they planted? And what happens to the harvest is one of the most fascinating agricultural and political stories of our time. Now, you might think that canola comes from a canola plant, right? I used to think this, but I was totally wrong. You see, canola plants don't exist. Canola plants are actually rapeseed plants, and they are part of the mustard family and have eye-popping, bright yellow flowers when blossoming. So what the heck are canolas then? Well, we can know for sure that canola is 100% human-made. In fact, it isn't really a thing in and of itself, it's more like a process. Strangely enough, canola was invented as a kind of process to change the inherent qualities of rapeseed. The reason is that rapeseed oil is super high in something called erucic acid. And if you eat erucic acid day after day, the heart muscle apparently gets increased fat deposits. These fat deposits lead to an unsavory condition known as myocardial lipidosis, where the ability for the heart muscles to pump are severely messed up. Now, before the 1960s, rapeseed oil was primarily used as an engine lubricant, and it wasn't eaten at all. You see, big epic fields of canola were first planted during the Second World War, not as food, but as a high-quality engine lubricant for naval warships. Apparently, rapeseed oil doesn't get easily washed off metal with water, keeping the war vessels shooting and dodging faster, easier, and longer. And we're not just talking about Canadian warships. Really, it was about American ones. In fact, the US actually asked Canada nicely to plant all these gazillion acres of rapeseed plants for the war effort. And of course they did. As a result, a bazillion acres of the stuff was planted all over the place, and fortunes were made. But the gravy train suddenly stopped when the war came to an end in 1945. At this point, the demand for rapeseed motor oil, as you can imagine, fell off a cliff. Of course, this left all those once prosperous farmers wondering what the heck they were going to do with all this land. And all that investment, time, and infrastructure. Well, these farmers were extremely clever, and they got in bed with a bunch of government scientists together to solve the problem. The solution was to change the purpose of the oil so that the demand, rather than coming from battleships and destroyers exploding over in the Atlantic, it would come from you eating it. So the government farmers and scientists got to work crossbreeding different kinds of rapeseed. And presto, like Dr. Frankenstein's monster, they managed to eventually cobble together a low erucic acid variation. And they finally got their Cinderella crop. Now, being all super patriotic and all, the scientists decided to call it Can-O-La, which is actually a very uncreative acronym for Canada Oil Low Acid. Somewhere along the way, some genius marketing person realized that this new edible motor oil was super low in saturated fats. In fact, out of all the cooking oils, canola has the lowest amount. And thus, the marketing frenzy that is canola quickly took off, and Canada started selling it across the globe as the healthiest cooking oil on the planet. Ironically, this marketing campaign was so successful that the idea that canola is heart healthy is still seemingly unstoppable. I mean, just take a look at some of the labels at your local grocery store. Oh, and did I mention that this motor oil, cooking oil, smells absolutely horrible? Yeah, it's kind of like gross cabbage, so it also needs to be chemically treated to remove the gross smell. Otherwise, fast food joints would smell a whole heck of a lot different. And really, who would have thought that motor oil would be low in saturated fat? Huh? So that's it. Canada's only made in Canada crop is now grown around the world. In fact, it's now the world's third most popular edible oil. And let's not forget that since 1995, almost all canola is genetically modified. In fact, the GM canola was so prevalent and spread so rapidly that organic farmers just couldn't stop the contamination. And well, most gave up. So good luck finding that organic canola oil on the shelf at your local grocery store.